If you are looking for foods to stock your kitchen with, or you're just curious as to what I keep in my kitchen, this video is for you because today I'm showing you 7 healthy foods that I always have on hand. So this is actually the 3rd video that I've done like this, so we're getting a little series now of 7 healthy foods that I always have on hand, and that wasn't my intention when I made the first one of these, which I will link for you if you missed it or if you want a refresher on what I included in that. It was just kind of an idea I had, but people really seem to like it and find it helpful, and there's other stuff besides that first video, what's in there, that I keep around too. So then I went ahead and made the second one. I'll link that one as well. And here we are on our 3rd iteration of this video. And the point of this really is to show you the essentials in my kitchen, because a lot of the food that I eat throughout the year is shifting and changing depending on the time of the year, and also just, you know, from year to year, what kinds of foods I'm into and what kind of stuff sounds good to me. And that is something important to note, because you will see that in all of these videos like this, I don't have a ton of produce items in here, and that's because my produce really does shift a lot depending on what time of year it is, what is at the farmer's market, what's coming out of my garden, stuff like that. But there are other things that always stick around, and that's what this video is for. So the first item on my list today is olives. I love having olives in my fridge, and I always try to keep them in there, and I use these in a couple ways. The first way I use them is as a topper for my salads. I love the salty brininess they give, and also they just make the overall salad a little more satisfying. If you want more tips on salad making or to see how I make my salads, I recently did a live stream where I showed you exactly how I make my salads, so I'll link that for you if you want to see how I use these and just how I make my salads in general. The other way I use these is just as a really nice snack. I like to make little snack plates, and in there I'll include the olives along with other things like maybe some fresh fruit or some cheese or some crackers, whatever I kind of have in the house. And again, these just add a nice salty, briny flavor that I really like. Also, side note on olives, I would love to know in the comments if you are an olive fan or not. I personally love them. Jason, my husband, he is not a fan at all, and I feel like olives are one of those foods that people have pretty strong opinions on. You either really like them or you're really not into them. So let me know which of those camps you fall into. And sticking with the olives, the next item on my list is olive oil. The brand that I really like is Casandrino's olive oil. It's really good stuff. I have it linked in my store, and I'll put a direct link for you below the video if you want to go over and check it out for yourself. But I always have to have olive oil around, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. I think this is a staple in a lot of homes because it's just a really good thing to have in your pantry. I mean, first off, you can make salad dressings with it, which is one way that I definitely use it. I also use olive oil when I'm roasting vegetables a lot of times, because when you're roasting vegetables, you have to toss them with some sort of fat, and the fact that olive oil is liquid makes it a prime contender for that, because it's a lot easier than melting something else, and it's just really quick to drizzle it on there and then put whatever other seasonings I want to put on there, toss it all together, and get those veggies in the oven. Moving down the list, the next one is something that's kind of related to the olive oil, and that is vinegar. I like to keep a variety of vinegars in my house. The most used one is probably the balsamic vinegar, which this one is actually empty and I need to get some more. But I use vinegar for a few different things. The first obvious one is salad dressing. The balsamic vinegar and the olive oil go great together to make a really yummy dressing. I also like to keep red wine vinegar around for that too. And then another vinegar that I always like to have is apple cider vinegar. That's really nice if I'm making some coleslaw and want to toss it in there, or if I'm cooking greens and want to add like a little bit of acid to that. It's also something that I use whenever I make broth if I am using bones, because putting that vinegar in there kind of helps get those bones cooked down a little bit better. Next up is frozen grass-fed ground beef. So I get the vast majority of my animal products locally, except for a couple things like maybe salmon that isn't available in Virginia locally. But you know, my pork and my chicken and my beef, I get all of those locally. And since I buy them from local farmers, it always comes frozen, and I really like having this stocked up in my freezer. I usually have at least 1, if not 2 or 3 packs of this in there, and it's just really nice. I like having it in my chest freezer because I have a really big chest freezer, and it's nice because I can kind of shop in my house. So I keep that thing stocked with a bunch of different items. This is just one of them, but it's really nice when I'm doing my meal planning or when we need to make a quick dinner and kind of have to figure something out on the fly, that I can just go into that chest freezer and have a variety of things to pick from, and one of those things is the ground beef. So this is nice if I want to make little burger patties, obviously. I also like to do kind of just like a veggie ground beef kind of skillet situation where I just, cook the ground beef, maybe throw in an onion and some garlic and whatever vegetables. This time of year in the winter, it's usually a lot of cabbage. Other times of year, it might be, summer vegetables, whatever we have around. But, just cooking that all down, and it makes a really quick, simple dinner. And then this is, there for me whenever I need it, whether it's planned or not. Next up, we have the one produce item that did make it in today's list, and that is carrots. So carrots are something that I keep around for myself, but really mostly for Jason. So I might have carrots every once in a while as a part of a snack, but Jason packs carrots with hummus in his lunch every single day. And here lately we've been into these rainbow carrots just because it's nice to have a mixture of colors, but because that is something that he packs in his lunch day after day after day, that means that we always have to have them around. And there's only really a window maybe in the summer where he doesn't pack carrots, where he'll pack something else, and that's because we have so much stuff coming out of the garden and coming from the farmer's market that we have some more options. Carrots, of course, are also nice to have just because they are a root vegetable. They will last in your fridge for a long time. You don't have to worry about them going bad or anything like that really quickly. So even if you don't have a specific purpose for them, just having them around means that if you need a vegetable for a snack, for instance, you have the carrots there if you need them. If you want to make a soup, having carrots is good for that kind of base with the onions and the celery and the carrots to start off your whole meal. And they're also great for other recipes. A lot of times recipes will call for carrots, so having them around means that I'm never gonna be in a pinch and be like, oh, we don't have this. If I'm trying to make something, I know that the carrots are always gonna be there. Moving on to the next thing on my list, and that is dry beans. And I like to keep a variety of dry beans. Here I have black beans. I also usually keep, some pinto beans or maybe some kidney beans, that sort of thing. And I like to put them in glass mason jars in my pantry and then use these white plastic lids. I've gotten into these here recently. They're just a little bit easier and nicer to use than the two-part canning lids, and then that means I can use those canning lids for actually canning and not for just storing things in my pantry. And yeah, these are just a little bit easier to use, and I feel like they're a little bit more airtight as well, which is nice. But I like to keep the beans around because, well, the main way that we use beans is for taco night. So when I make tacos, the kind of go-to filling is beans cooked with a bunch of spices. Every once in a while we'll have, maybe if I make pulled pork in the week, we'll have leftovers of that in our tacos, or if I make a chicken, we'll have leftovers of that in the tacos. But most of the time it's going to be beans. And then of course if I want to make some sort of chili or soup or stew, then I also have the beans around to throw into that whenever I think I might want to. The next item on the list is another pantry item, and that is quinoa. And quinoa is not something that I actually cook with that often, but it's okay because, it's perfectly fine to just sit on the shelf in my pantry in the jar and it's not gonna go bad. Typically I go for other starches or grains with my meals, but sometimes you do have a recipe that calls for quinoa, or maybe I just want to make quinoa for something for whatever reason because that sounds good. And another nice thing about the quinoa is that it cooks quickly. This cooks much faster than brown rice, for example. So if I'm a little more pinched on time and I want something that's gonna be faster, then the quinoa is good for that too. And let me know in the comments, what are some of your kitchen staples, those foods that you keep around all the time? And if you happen to be new here and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition info and videos like this one, then make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I want to show you how to do it. And if you want to watch some more videos, I have a couple linked over here that you might like. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.